Dear friend, let's discover more of who we are together. Love, Haley and Amanda.
Welcome back. Spring has sprung. Fall has fell. Winter is here. And
go to
hell. No,
in an Easter basket.
It is pretty much. What is the first day of spring?
I don't know.
You don't know, but it's
but
like,
let me tell you
that
that when this comes out,
it will be spring break.
That it will be the day after our favorite day of the year.
Oh yeah, daylight savings.
Ooh, give me that daylight back.
We literally have a party every year for daylight savings because when it switches back, it's
the sunshine. Oh
my gosh,
it's like getting your life back.
We go through a slight weird depression whenever it's what's the inverse of
daylight stealings?
Yes.
Time?
Daylight stealings. When it comes around every year, Haley and I look at each other and I grab her by the shoulders and I say, we're going to get through this. We're going to make holidays fun. We're going to figure it out. And then when daylight savings comes back, it's just,
we've been planning it. Oh,
I just can't wait. I love it. I love it.
I'm so pumped.
I'm so pumped.
And do you know that not only is it springtime daylight, but that it's for a lot of people spring break. So we're headed to
take our shirts off. I can't believe that's where I was going to. Yeah, we're going to be spring breakers and,
Yeah, we're drunk right now.
No, but we are actually doing a staycation on spring break that is going to be really fun.
And rejuvenating. We've probably talked about it before. It's this local.
Right.
It's here in town.
It's an Airbnb.
It's a tree house, actually, that is like,
gorgeous.
I don't even know what year it's from, but it's old as hell.
It was built in the 20s.
And it's a sculptor used to live there, and it's this cabin, and it's just windows and plants and multi-story.
All the trees around it. You literally feel so like secluded, but also they have curated and take care of the plants in this house. Like the house is full of plants, these old plants that are so like overgrown in a good way. And I'm serious, there's something about this place, like every time you step into it, you feel like serene, and it's a very inspirational place. So we try to go once a year.
We didn't usually go for our friend-iversary, but we haven't been able to go for 2 years. And so on New Year's Eve, I was like, I'm just going to, whatever the first date is that's available, I'm booking it. And we did it, and it ended up being spring break without planning it, daylight savings. Oh, man.
Well, and one of the cool things about this house, because we go and it's kind of a place where we celebrate our friendship, and we also kind of try to get inspiration for the things we're doing together that we're involved in, and inspire each other in our separate things too. But they have in the master suite this is too much information, but I don't care. We're going there. There's a huge tub. And when I say huge, it's
like a hot tub.
It's like a hot bathtub that is surrounded by windows. So it like extends out of
and it's on the second floor.
Yeah, out of the master suite upstairs, and it's surrounded by windows, and it's just this huge tub, and there's trees surrounding you outside.
And plants inside.
And I just want to tell you that, yes, Haley and I do get in this bathtub and make it bubble bath central, and we stay in for hours talking about our dreams.
Too much information.
Is that TMI?
We wear swimsuits.
Yes. Okay, we're not naked, but we stay in that like it's a hot tub for hours.
Yeah, and because it's like you're taking a bath in the air, in the tree.
In a room with air in it.
With plants, also outdoors inside.
Anyways, we're talking about this a little bit too much, but we're excited about spring break, okay? And when this episode comes out, it will be the week of spring break. And I know everyone doesn't always have a spring break, but usually, like if you have kids, your kids are on spring break. If you teach or you are living around the spring break schedule at all, or you're just going to take some days off work.
Daylight savings feels like something's happening.
Something's happening.
Anyways. I cut your thought off.
No, I'm just saying, like, so not everyone gets a spring break, but it's that time where you want to take a break. And actually, today's episode is called Breaks.
Oh, was going to say, pump the brakes.
And it's about when your car brakes go out, and we're going to tell you how to fix it step by step. First step is to pull over.
Okay. It's like, how are you going to tie
I have a
that
manual
in?
on brakes.
Who's a manual?
Okay, we are just like, we should just get on topic maybe for once. Like,
Okay.
it might be helpful.
Well, and all that stuff we just said, we planned to say
None of it.
after the, well, yeah, not a lot
We
of
actually
it.
never planned any of the things we just said, except that we
Yeah,
were going to go on a
some of 'em.
staycation. Okay, we've got to get on track. So our episode today is about brakes and not your car brakes, even though I tricked you. This isn't a manual. He's not here.
This is young Pueblo.
This is young Pueblo, whose poem we try to align to every podcast episode, and it is that an honest and deep conversation with a good friend is sometimes the exact nourishment you need to regain clarity, get back up, face the world, and resume your mission with a new and focused energy. And that is so tied to today's episode about brakes.
And just as this is like a pledge and a promise behind our podcast, let's go ahead.
We have a real pledge.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Something in my throat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Mates in America. Real quick, we've got to make a flag. That's a good merch idea.
No, I said that before, and you said
it was too far.
Yeah, you said it was too far, and then you
I'm
just
sorry.
said it like it was a cult.
One friendship, under God, indivisible, live purdy. And just us for all. Not justice for all. We don't care about justice.
No.
We care about just us for all.
all.
I hope you picked up the sarcasm. No, of course we care about justice. I mean, who are we, monsters? Okay.
All I know is we're under God.
I don't know how we got under there.
I don't know.
But we're stuck.
I'm gonna do another side tangent real quick.
Please don't. I'm so scared.
My limo. This is how Amanda sings this song.
This Enrique Iglesias song, we were on a walk during quarantine, and I was singing it. It was stuck in my head, and she about Peter Pants and fell over on the sidewalk because I said, my limo, let the rhythm take you under my limo. Te quiero, mamma mio. And she goes, you just sang, get under my limo. I love you, Mom.
Let the rhythm take you under my limo.
Yeah.
I love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom. Get under my limo. Love you, Mom.
So we are under God.
We're under God and
the
a
rhythm,
limo.
Yeah.
We're under
The
limos.
rhythms
And okay, that's
Okay.
enough. Back to brakes. We just took a break right there, but we're getting back on topic. We're talking about brakes today because have you had a break today? We need to get a sponsor.
Give me a break.
Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that. We can't say it, or unless they pay us. That's an old stuff.
They pay us. We'll go back and put it in.
Yeah, I'm not doing it until they pay us. They owe us money for that.
But you know who you are.
So does everyone else. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about brakes today because in my life right now, in this season of our lives, we are able to be creating our own schedules and having more flexibility in how we're approaching our work. And this is new for us because, we were teachers and, you have your schedule at school and stuff like that. But we're able to kind of manipulate our schedules to fit and serve us better. And something that we've been doing for the past few months is every day at 10:45, we meet at my house and we go for a 2-mile run with the dogs. And then we go back, like we've been working in the morning, we do the run, we go back, eat lunch, and then we separate and then do the rest of our day. And it's been such a great practice for us. And so much has come out of these runs because obviously we're talking and it's this time of like deep conversation, brainstorming, and we don't plan for it to be, it just happens that way. Yeah. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And it's because, and we're going to talk about this, you just stopping and giving your brain any sort of break from what you're doing, the task at hand, it without even trying naturally, scientifically, biologically,
it sparks that creativity.
yes, it goes from brain break to brainstorm.
Yeah, and it's how we end up with the topics for the podcast. It's, it's not even, and it's not always productive. It's also just sometimes figuring stuff out that's going on in our lives. And so we were talking about this on one of these runs the other day.
Yeah.
And we started to do some research about breaks and the biology of breaks and what it does for how it affects our minds and everything like that. But we started talking about kind of our personal experiences. So like I said, teaching in the United States, you are at work. You get there at like 8 and then you come home at like 4:30 or 5 and you've got class after class and then they give you a 30-minute lunch break.
And it could be at any time in the day. It could be at 10:30 might be your
is the first lunch at
godforsaken 30-minute lunch break.
Yes, and so you eat at 10:30 to 11 and then you have to finish the rest of your day till 5 and you're starving at the end of the day. But the thing is that usually it takes kids a while to get out of your class and then you've got to wrap up to get ready for the next class after lunch. So you're like,
you got to walk to
the break room, heat up your lunch. You are literally scarfing your food in 5 to 10 minutes.
And you're like, if any of you talk to me here in this break room.
And so that's stressful. Yeah, and it's also not a break.
About it.
Yeah, it's horrible. And you're like in fluorescent lighting in the break room with the copy machine going.
There's no difference in environment or atmosphere and if you go to the break room and have a conversation, you're talking about what just happened or is going to happen.
Right. And I'm sure, and we're talking about teaching, but I'm sure there's a lot of other professions who have similar experiences on their lunch breaks.
In offices.
And maybe you have it a little bit longer, but you're still like engaging most of the time either with your fellow co-workers. Thank you. I almost said employees.
I almost said comrades.
Interesting. That's a cool word. And so it's not really a break. Like you're still going in your work cycle. And when Haley, she lived in Spain for a year and she was teaching in Spain. And
what a difference.
Can you tell us, because I went and visited you at school one day and went with you like on one of your last days of work. And I was really shocked. I'd like for you to tell me what your typical day teaching in Spain looked like.
So first of all, school didn't start until around 9 or so. So that's already like later than most schools. Like here when I taught, our school started at like 7 something and I wanted to die about that.
That's really early.
Yeah. But there, and then we would have a break, which I think here in the States would be like our 30-minute lunch break, but it was like a 45-minute break and what everyone would do, and it would be in the middle of the day and school was out at 2:30. Okay. So 9 to 2:30. Mm-hmm. So in the middle of that, right in the middle, there would be a break for everyone. So it wasn't like you get a break here, you get a break here, you get a break here. And the teachers, we would leave school and walk to a nearby coffee shop or a cafe. And we would have a small coffee or like a cortado or whatever and have like a little snack, a cookie or whatever, a pastry. And we would chat about, we never talked about school.
Or the students.
It's a totally different like lifestyle and mindset. Mm-hmm. And because it was like, we're leaving this place. Our brains are leaving this place. We have a different life right now. And then we would slowly walk back and then we would enter back in. And then when school was out, we would all go home and have a big lunch.
Which is called, in Spain they have...
Yeah, siesta.
Yeah.
And so we would have your biggest meal right after school and you would take your time eating it.
And preparing it.
Yes. And then if you still participated in the siesta, then you would have a short nap and then you would have your whole evening ahead of you, whether you would work more or, whatever. So it was just when I came back to the States and I jumped back into teaching here, I had that 30-minute break and I couldn't even move fast enough anymore to heat my food up in time.
Yeah, I remember whenever I went to visit you, I went to like the full day because you wanted to introduce me to your students, and we like sang for them, and it was really fun. And it was your break, and all the teachers, we all walked to that little cafe, and I was like, what is happening? This is really nice. Like
it's really nice.
Pleasant. And we had like great coffee, great conversation. And then we walked back. Everyone's kind of refreshed after that. And they finished teaching, but it's still 2:00. And then we went to actually one of the teachers' houses, and she prepared a huge lunch meal. And in her house,
and you don't have to.
Yeah, but like we just had this huge feast with her, and like it was hours long. And then
you're allowed to be tired.
Yeah, because then you don't eat dinner in Spain until like 10 p.m. or something.
Yeah, and it's light. But
it was just, what I'm trying to say is the difference of like respecting those breaks and respecting our time, completely different in those two scenarios. And what I'm noticing about when we're taking this break where we go on a run and we're being active and we're taking ourselves outside of our work, like I feel when I come back after that so inspired in a new way, creative around what I'm doing. I feel motivated again to like continue working. And so we're going to kind of look at some of, like, we did some research about what
is actually
the
happening.
Science about what's happening to our brains.
It's not just like an idea. Like, I think breaks are helpful. And I actually heard this short little snippet of Simon Sinek saying, he was giving this metaphor of two lumberjacks, and that there were these two lumberjacks, and they both had to chop all this wood all day long. And one of the lumberjacks was like, I'm not going to take a break because I don't have enough time to take a break. I want to get it as much done as I can. And one of the lumberjacks would leave in the middle of the day, and the other one was like, I'm going to get so much more done because I'm not stopping. And then the other one would come back, and every day the one that stopped and left, he chopped more wood. And so one day, finally, the other lumberjack was like, where do you go in the middle of the day? And
why are you are you chopping more wood than me?
I stay all day and do it longer than you, more than you. And he said, I leave every day and I sharpen my axe. And so that just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, why I feel like a dummy, but I'm like goosebumps central right now. I've even heard it so many times, and I was like, sharpen your axe.
Well, and it's just a metaphor for,
it's
you come back after these breaks and you're a better version of yourself, and it's scientifically, biologically proven that you get more done.
You're sharpening your mental axe.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so some of the things that we kind of found out, like the psychology of it, is there's different types of breaks, but like movement breaks. This was an article that we were reading. Movement breaks, it was on psychologytoday.com. It helps with physical and emotional health, specifically like how it was saying, like consistent sitting and like staying in the same position all the time while you're doing your work. It can lead to heart disease, diabetes, depression, and obesity, obviously, because like you're staying so sedentary, and just being able to get up and do movement breaks is really good for your like physical health.
It was even saying like a 5-minute walk every hour like reduces all of that an enormous amount.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't think about it in your day to day, but over time, just sitting constantly and being so sedentary really affects your internal health.
Yeah. And then these breaks can promote like decision fatigue and prevent decision fatigue, where you're like feeling really indecisive about what you should be doing and how you should be approaching things. If you take a break and step away, and you come back to it, like you get so much more clarity on what you're dealing with. And also for me, whenever we do our longer break, it's about like an hour and a half. It makes me take my mind off the goal I'm working on. And so when I come back to the goal, I'm renewed. My motivation is strengthened towards the goal. Like sometimes you just have to step away. Like I always tell my students when they're writing essays, I'm like, do your pre-writing and then like go work on something else. Write the essay, go work on something else. And then when you read it the final time, you're going to catch a lot more mistakes because you know what you were trying to say. And if you read it right after you wrote it, you're not going to see where you fell short. But if you step away from it and come back, like it's going to be a lot more clear for you.
Right.
And so
another thing, sorry, I was going to say about the decision fatigue. Also, when you're so tired or you've been doing the same thing for so long without a break, you end up making the easier decision, even though it might not be the right decision.
Yes, because you want the path of least resistance.
Right, because you're bogged down. Yeah. So just a short break and changing your brain to something else or moving around, you may end up making a better decision for the long run. And what you were saying about the goals, like that's a short-term goal you were talking about, like writing a paper or even like a weekly goal. But it was saying even over time, taking a break every day and changing your mindset away from your long-term goal makes you more apt and more motivated to keep that goal and not burn out in the long run. Like it said like over a year, you were more productive and motivated towards your goal if you took one break a day.
And before we move on to the last point of the kind of what's going on mentally with you, to touch on what you just said, we were even talking about how, so obviously with the virus and, COVID, we were really confined to spaces. And so we get into doing the same things kind of all the time. And now that things are loosening up a little bit and people are vaccinated and all of that, we were noticing this, that even during the week, if we plan to go do something that's fun for us, that's going to be, but like that's intentionally fun and rejuvenating, it's really fulfilling and refreshing and inspiring. And so it's kind of like whenever you're doing your work and you realize that you're also a person outside of what you do and you give yourself space to go do those things that like make you feel like yourself, when you go back to work, you really show up in your best way, like your most strong version of you. And you're like, I feel like it aligns everything back to who you really are if you give yourself time to go be yourself outside of what you do.
And another point we read about in I think it was the well-being thesis, it was a study in the UK. They were talking about that if you took a break during the day, that when you're done with your work day, you don't have such a long recovery.
Oh yeah.
And so and then because y'all know what we're talking about. You get done with your work and you're like, oh, all I want to do is just veg on the couch. Just want to put on some Gilmore Girls.
Don't say Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, and then you don't end up doing the things that you were just saying.
Yeah, inspire you because you're exhausted and you're like, oh, I'm just going to lay here and, Uber eat something. I'm so tired.
So then that's a double down missed opportunity.
Yeah.
You missed your break during the day to rejuvenate you for work, and then you're so exhausted after work because you didn't take the break, you don't get fulfilled from your actual break in the evenings to go back to work the next day. And then this goes on and on and on forever.
Oh, Boise.
Take a break.
Take a break. And don't eat a kid.
Don't.
I'm not going to say it. Yeah, no, I think that this is really important because the recovery at the end of the day thing is so real. Like I have 100% experienced that where I'm like, I get home, I'm so exhausted, especially with teaching. Like I'll be so exhausted because you're on your feet all day. You're going 100 miles per hour, like talking all the time, walking around the classroom, and you get home and all you want to do is sit and be quiet. And there's definitely you definitely should have that moment.
Yeah.
But then it's hard to make yourself go do the things that you love that make you feel like yourself. But once you go out and do them, for instance, like the Tuesday night jam session at Fernware, sometimes, because it starts later in the night, it starts at 9 and the music really starts even a little bit later than that. So it's like I'm like, oh, I want to go to that. Like every time I go to it, it makes me feel
good.
so good afterwards. I feel so inspired afterwards, but I'm tired. But then the moment I get there, I'm like, tired who? This is rejuvenating me. This is making me feel alive. This is making me feel like myself.
And do you regret it the next morning?
No, never. I feel like I show up as more of who I am the next day. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the Young Pueblo quote that we read, an honest and good conversation with a good friend rejuvenates you to make you go back out into the world as who you really are, aligned to yourself.
Yep.
It's like that feels like the same thing to me.
It does.
And I just think it's so easy to be like, no, I'm going to stay on the couch. I'm tired. Because it is. I choose it a lot of the time sometimes. And especially when we were confined to our homes, we got used to doing that.
I just had a really
big epiphany.
Yeah, and it's pretty heady, so we can cut this out if it's not good.
Okay.
What if sometimes that honest and good conversation with a dear friend is like you talking to like the best part of yourself as that dear friend?
Yeah, yeah.
And being like, okay, let me talk to the best part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And we always say like, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you really love, because we don't do that.
Yeah, no way.
And so if you took a moment and you talked to the best part of yourself, like you were a dear friend to yourself, then would you make a different decision to be more aligned, to go resume your mission a little bit differently, to do the hard thing in the moment, but the thing that actually makes you feel more rejuvenated?
Yeah.
That was my thought.
No, it's a really good thought, and sometimes it has to be you that does it, and it's also really nice when you have an actual dear friend who, in moments where you are feeling like you don't want to do the thing, they're like, let's go to jam night.
Yes, we do.
Let's go on the run today. Let's go on the run today. I know you're tired. I had a lot of work this morning too. Let's go on the run, take a break, because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go on the run. I'm too tired, and then I go and I'm like, Thank God you told me to come with you today. So it's just, it's kind of the mind over matter thing with that. And it's nice to have a good friend that pulls you, but it's also sometimes going to have to be yourself.
Yeah.
And the break can be like a 5-minute walk.
Yes.
Or it can be a little staycation in Dallas at a tree house. You know what I mean?
Or it can be an actual holiday, like a getaway.
Go away. Like you just have to step out of the things that kind of bog you down, even if it's stuff you love. Like even if you love your job, to like what we're saying, to go align with yourself, to come back as more of yourself later.
Yeah. And I was going to read this quote from that article, but I don't have it pulled up. But it's just a reminder, like when you feel like you have so much to do, you don't have time to take a break. You don't have time not to take a break.
100%.
Like just think about those lumberjacks. You will get more done, feel better, be more creative, productive, in the long term, have more stamina if you decide to take a break for your best self.
And I think a lot of people are working from home these days and have a little bit more, people who have the luxury of doing that, they have a little bit more control over their scheduling in a day. Like even my neighbor, I see him, he works from home and he'll like go on a long walk and come back. And I just think if you have the luxury of kind of manipulating your schedule like that, take advantage of it.
And if you don't, I know there's so many things out there where you can look up, like I saw something the other day, like office chair yoga or something, like there's
brain, like just little brain breaks,
a little breathing exercise to reset your body, Yeah. So we can do it.
We can. And nothing like we're talking about is like ultra profound and new information, but it's something that we need to be reminded of and to tell ourselves and give permission to ourselves to take a break. You deserve a break.
You do.
You do. And we do.
And we'll be better people out in the world and inside of our own bodies
because
for
of
it.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in this week to the Dear Friend podcast, talking about breaks. We always love you guys joining us.
Happy spring break.
Happy spring break. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend. That's how we grow.
A dear friend.
If you think someone would benefit from hearing about why breaks are so important, like share this episode with somebody that you think it would help.
And don't forget that you can watch us, these beautiful videos.
Oh, yeah. We got 3 cameras on us.
We got Will
That's why we
over here and
I'm like,
Flaytonia.
I love, on Friends where Monica, they're like, wow, Monica, you were huge. And she's like, the camera adds 10 pounds. They're like, how many cameras are on you? We have 3 cameras on us. So we have 30 pounds added to us on YouTube. I'm kidding.
Yeah, so go follow us over on YouTube. You can like and subscribe.
Please subscribe. That way you can be alerted whenever we post. We post episodes every Monday. And we are recording video and audio here at Fernware Studio. It's in Oak Cliff, Dallas, Texas. Make sure you follow them on Instagram at Fernware, and also follow us at dearfriend.podcast.
And the music that you hear at the beginning and the end of each episode is from our band, Sister. You can look us up at sistertheband.com. We hope you have such a wonderful week. Take care of each other.
Take a break.
Take care of yourself.
Stay pretty.